Welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, I'm always in the field for entrepreneurs, people doing things on the cutting edge, and people making a difference. So today I'm actually excited to talk to our guest, Aisen Li. And he's actually an entrepreneur in the relationship realm. And so, whether it's financial, spiritual, relationship, marketing, sales, I'm always looking for key insights. So I'm happy to welcome Aisen to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Liu. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. You're based out of Austin, and kind of tell people your backstory, your company, your business, and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, for sure. So what I do is I help guys with mindset, confidence, and dating. And my background is I actually went to school for engineering, but being an engineer, I noticed a lot of guys in my class, in my major, that were struggling with relationships. So I got into that because I was a little bit better than them at the time. And I eventually started in 2016 and got better and became a better coach. And then what differentiates me from other dating coaches is that I focus heavily on the mindset. So it's all about your inner self, right? Understanding and being your true self and having that self-worth first. In order to have and attract someone else, you have to first love yourself, right? So that's the biggest difference. Other people might tell you, hey, just learn some pickup lines, here's some strategies you can implement, but then that could work short term. But then if you can't be that person yourself, then you can't continue the relationship. My backstory is that when I was a kid, I was always shy. My Myers-Briggs were INTJ, so I had to really overcome that. And growing up in different parts of the world, I was born in China and I moved to the Czech Republic and then eventually back to China and then America. So I was always like a different kid. I always felt like I never belonged. And so it took me a while to have my own confidence. I had developed my own identity as well. So, I just wanted to jump on this podcast and share some things with you guys.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, the plight of the Asian man, especially in Western society. I have the same feelings, never fitting in and being the oddball out. One thing talking about is, so we talk about confidence. Tell people about confidence and where it comes from, self-esteem, and we'll get into whatever comes through it.
Right. So confidence, in my definition, is competence, right? It comes from competence. So if you're skilled in something and you can do a good job at it, then you should be confident in that area. But also it has to be from a place of a growth mindset. So for example, if you have a fixed mindset and you might be confident in the very beginning, but then if you fail at something, you make a mistake, that confidence just drops real fast. But with the growth mindset, you might make a mistake but your mind is going to tell you that, hey, I can do a lot better. So let me try this again and then improve. And then that actually builds onto the confidence you had before.
Yeah. And where does self-esteem play into this? Like, I'm curious, especially for, Asian, where there's these little, I've talked to a lot of people, these micro traumas, could be like discrimination, could be affirmative action, all of these things. Where does that play?
Yeah, just understanding that you're not going to be liked by everyone. I'm not liked by everyone. Same thing with dating, right? Let's say I like this type of woman and then her type is someone that has darker skin or someone that's white, right? That's not me, right? But I'm not going to say, oh no, I'm not good enough because this person rejected me, right? Everyone has different preferences. Same thing with cars. Certain people like white cars, certain people like black cars, certain people go with silver. I like red cars, right? So just because someone has a different preference doesn't make you less than other people. And a lot of people think, especially Asian men, we think that we're second-class citizens, whereas like I try to see things as, hey, I'm unique, right? I'm different, especially in Texas. There's not a whole lot of us. And if I go into a place dressed up in a cowboy hat and boots, I'm going to stand out. And if someone's interested, in someone like me, they're going to just jump on me, right? Because I'm different. I'm able to express myself without any hesitation.
Yeah. It's all about self-expression. And The other question I have is because you have it, you're a former model, and so where does looks play into it? Is it kind of like a trump card, ace card?
Right. It's
Um,
funny that you mentioned that. Looks actually could be good or bad, right? So a lot of times, if someone's born attractive, they might not put a lot of effort into their looks and grooming. So I would rather have someone that's average and works on their grooming, hygiene, right? Cut their nails, right? Because that person is gonna be more successful with women than someone that's sloppy. And it's interesting because as a model back then, I had the least confidence, the best looks I've ever had in my life, but least confidence because I was always comparing myself to someone else. Let's say I go to a casting full of 30, 40 guys, same kind of look, right? And I don't get the job. And then I'm like, okay, that guy got the job. So why did I not get the job? Are my abs not good enough? Am I too skinny? Am I too fat? Is my nose too narrow? Is my nose too big? Am I losing my hair? So that's what I was thinking. And that's why at that time my confidence was at the lowest because I couldn't validate myself. I was seeking validation outwards. In order to be a happy person with good self-esteem, you have to validate yourself. It's not about what other people think. It's about how you feel and how you think about you.
yeah, I love that. So where do people get started? Everybody's looking for love, and everybody's looking for when it comes to business and finances. How do people start? You start working out to kind of describe your process for helping people kind of pull themselves out.
Yeah, that's great. The first step always is to work with the end in mind, right? So if you have a goal, first figure out what your goal is, right? Some people want to have a relationship. Some people just want to gain confidence and date more people to find out what exactly they want. So I figure that out with my clients, and then we can formulate a game plan. So that's always the beginning. But the first things that we always do is mindset, understanding what are some limiting beliefs you have that's holding you back. Where did it come from, right? Maybe a lot of it came from childhood upbringings. Your parents might have been very strict and discouraged dating, or never really gave you that validation or forms of affirmations. So that person might have everything on paper, but they feel like they're less than everyone else. So understanding those things and deconstructing those things first before we talk about dating, and understanding how to communicate as well.
And then yeah, that's quite interesting. A lot of people, they start becoming more social, just talking to people. Relationships is a social game. When you help clients, is it just in person? Is it remote? Do you bring them to venues? Kind of describe that.
Yeah. So before C19 happened, I was doing more in person because that we would like to go out, talk to people, understand their struggles. But then ever since that's happened, I was able to actually work with people that are outside of my vicinity. So like a lot of people are from LA, California, Bay Area, New York, especially. So that's always been good because I have like supplemental videos, but then I also have like the one-on-one sessions we do. This is like kind of like therapy where we dive in and really be transparent with each other and understand exactly what to work on.
Yeah. And then what role does because now a lot of millennial Gen Alpha, now that with cell phones there's all different types of dating apps. What role does these like Instagram and Tinder and all of these apps, how did that play into your business and your coaching and your clients?
Right. It's interesting because I'm not a huge dating app person because I feel like that it's skewed because it's always going to be better for the women on the apps, because guys, this is easy because guys would swipe big, like 0.2 seconds. They know exactly if this person's attractive or not, right? So women get abundance of swipes and matches, whereas like guys, we get like maybe one or two max from time to time. So that could discourage someone's mental health, right? And the majority of the guys aren't getting matches. That's why there's a study being done saying that more and more men are not having sex anymore because they can't find a mate, or they just feel discouraged, or they have higher standards. But then, they see all the Instagram models are like, I want a girl with curvy butts, I want this, I want that. But then they don't meet these women in real life. So they're like, you know what, I'm not going to settle until I get that. But so that's why. But I do like Instagram because Instagram is a great way to connect with people and also like showcase their lifestyle. So whenever I meet someone new, I don't give my number out anymore. I just get their Instagram or give my Instagram out because, I post stories, I post like my posts of my lifestyle, and then if they resonate with that, they might like my story, and then I can reach out and be like, hey, how's your day going? Let's grab coffee. Let's grab a bite, right? So that's a great way. Even like someone that's haven't talked to like 3 years, they might see my story like, hey, what's up? What's up, Aisen? How you been? Right? Reconnect. So that's a great way to reconnect. But I always think that it's way faster and easier to talk to someone in person. Right? I can go downstairs and like meet 20 people in an hour, literally.
It's like a business. You want to go where all your clients are. And so, you go to the platform where where clients, you go to venues, whatever business. It's kind of, it's really interesting how the areas of health, wealth, relationships, all have similar. The other question I had for you is this idea with, so what are some of the common mindset struggles for Asian men?
Mm-hmm. Most of the time is I'm not good enough, right? This person is better than me. She's out of my league. How am I going to be able to compete with all these other guys that are better than me? Right? I'm not interesting. Those are the two biggest ones. But then I have to say, hey, why do you feel like you're not good enough? And then it always comes back to childhood saying, yeah, my mom compared me to Kevin, who's a doctor now. Right? But then I'm just an engineer, right? Or like my brother's a lawyer, and I feel like I'm the black sheep of the family because I like music. Things like that. And also, confidence. So that's why a lot of times people lack the confidence because they feel like they're not good enough. And like, as parents, as Asian parents, we get a lot of criticism for not being the best, right? Like not getting 100 on our tests. Whereas like if we get like 98, we don't get praised. Like, hey, there's 2 points you didn't get. That's, plays into our insecurities sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. The other question I've always had is this area for interracial dating for Asian men, because it's kind of like these stereotypes. It's like you always see Caucasian male with an Asian female, but it's very rare to see Asian male with a Caucasian female. It's more like you kind of see like, and you think, is that cultural? Is it just kind of societal? Is it mental? I'm just yeah.
Part of it is it's a little bit of both, but a lot of times when Asian guys complain to me, they're like, hey, all these tall white dudes are taking our women and they're not even attractive, right? I'm like, okay. Yeah. I see it from a perspective of saying, hey, they're open to dating our race. Why can't we be open to dating their race, right? And a lot of times Asian women like white guys is because they are more confident, perhaps, right? They express more. They showcase their vulnerability more. So, for example, like we don't, especially if you grew up in a Korean family, like your dad never talked to you about, his struggles or his emotional being, etc. So he's always like, hey, I'm the best. I'm the king of the house. You do what I say. No, don't cry. Why are you crying? Like rule with the iron fist kind of mentality. So a lot of Korean guys that I talk to, they always have that mentality. Say, hey, I can't show weakness around my woman, or else she's gonna ditch me and feel like I'm inferior. So that's like a toxic trait that some of the guys have. Whereas like white people are like, hey, I want to talk about this. You said this yesterday about me. Why don't you sit down with you and talk about why you said this, right? And that's sometimes they like that. Other than that, it's definitely mainstream media has a big effect on dating as well. Whereas like growing up, I saw us Asian men as the funny characters of the movies, or even like the nerdy characters. Whereas like now, and then back then, all the white guys were the heroes and all the black guys were the villains. So it plays a part into it. Because if you ask if you ask anyone like right now, like in our age group, like if they want to date an Asian person, when they're younger, no one says, hey, I want to date this guy that's like a nerdy dude in 16 Candles, right? No one does that. So that's part of it as well. But I encourage interracial dating. Because I usually date white women because I'm just more familiar with them, and I think their mindsets are different, more similar to mine. Whereas like Asian women, they feel like I feel a little bit confined when dating them because they're like, hey, you can't be doing this. You can't book a trip to Mexico tomorrow. It's too spontaneous. Yeah, that's just my take.
Yeah, interesting. And it's really interesting. Like I said, the mindset of an entrepreneur in the realm of relationships, and there's a lot of new material out about healthy relationships and healthy dating, and kind of this toxic masculine. And what's been so as a engineer, and now you've transitioned into a different form of business, what's kind of been your key takeaways for anybody interested in pivoting, getting into something new?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I would say I was stubborn as growing up, right, as a young man, and I thought that I could figure everything out myself. And later on in life, I figured that I had a lot of struggles, frustrations trying to do it myself. But then I got a coach. So finding a mentor is so important because it's gonna make your journey that much easier since you already have a blueprint to follow. And it could save you a lot of time and money as well, because by doing it yourself, you might fail and discouraged and try something else. And 3 years later, you still left with nothing. And you go back to the things you did before unhappily, right? But then if you have a mentor you're going to invest in. So first of all, with a little bit of investment, you're going to feel like, wow, I put some skin in the game. Let's get through this. And then they're going to show you the way. And that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah. I love that. It's always find somebody that's doing something that you want to be doing and emulate them, take them out to lunch, coffee, invest in their programs. And how can people contact you, reach out to you, check out your work and, see what you're all about?
Yeah, for sure. They can go onto my website, the Aisen, as well as my Instagram. It's just my first and last name, no space. And if you send me a message, I'll message back, or you can just book a call on the website. I love talking with people. It's a free call. We can just talk, shoot the breeze, whatever you want.
So for all the audience out there listening, Aisen, for coming on, being real, talking about struggles, talking about entrepreneurship, relationship, coaching, and all of his resources, links and show notes. And thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun.